All right, let's be honest. Assessment isn't usually part of the lesson planning process that gets teachers excited to do. Most of us would rather spend our time planning engaging lessons than creating another worksheet, another exit ticket, or another assessment form. But what if assessments didn't have to feel like it was separate from the learning? What if assessments could happen while students were actively moving, participating, and having fun? Because that's exactly what I want to talk about today. One of the biggest mind shifts that I've made as a teacher is realizing that assessments don't always have to happen A, at the end of a lesson, and B, in the form of a worksheet. But let's go back to that first point because, in fact, some of the best assessment opportunities can actually happen in the middle of the lesson. Over the last few weeks, we have talked about why movement matters, planning around participation, building movements into lessons, and today we're going to the next step. We are talking about how movement can actually help us assess our students' learning. And honestly, this saves so much time as a teacher. I think many of us were taught that assessments look like worksheets, written tests, exit tickets, and individual checkoffs. And there is absolutely a place for this. But sometimes that only tells part of the story, especially in the elementary music room. Because music is something that students do. Music is active, music is participatory. So it makes sense that a lot of our assessments should be active too. One of the biggest changes in my teaching happened when I stopped asking, how will I assess in this lesson? And instead started to ask, what evidence of learning can I observe in this lesson? And those are two very different questions because suddenly assessing my students isn't something separate. Assessment then becomes part of their participation. Example number one, let's start with one of the easiest strategies. Instead of asking who knows the answer, and again, hoping that somebody's going to raise their hand, instead ask your students to show you. For example, if you're teaching staccato versus legato, same versus different, rhythm patterns, solfege patterns, form, students can demonstrate understanding of these concepts through movement. And again, that's just exactly like what it sounds like. If you ask your student if what they're hearing is forte or piano, you're going to expect to see big bodies or big movements if it's forte, and small, quiet bodies if it's piano. High pitch versus low pitch. They're on their tiptoes versus they're crouching down. Staccato versus legato. Jumping versus gliding. Same versus different is where maybe your students get to make something of their own movement. Rhythm patterns, easy. Solfege patterns, easy. And within seconds, you've collected information from every student that you're either just writing down on a clipboard next to you in a way that maybe doesn't even feel like your students are being graded, or you're doing what I'm doing in some of my lessons, which is keeping my phone recording in the background that I'm not going to post anywhere, but I will use later on to help me say, this student's getting it, this student's not, and how that's going to change my teaching for each individual student later on. Now, can that be an extra step sometimes? Yes. But does it help inform the choices that I'm making on what grades they're getting and how I know how to help them going on? Yeah. Now, this might be something that you have to talk with your school about to make sure that it fits what your school's requirements. But as far as an easy way to gather data on your students' performances without them even knowing they're being graded, it is a wonderful way to do this. And you're not always having to put students on the spot by asking them to raise their hand, which is just not in every student's wheelhouse. But maybe assessments like this will give them the confidence for it to be. Example number two, four corners. And this is one of my favorite assessment strategies because all you have to do is label four corners of your room with whatever you're questioning. So again, it could be the rhythm pattern and whatever they hear, that's the corner of the room they have to go to. Or maybe it's again the dynamics. So if you have pianissimo over here, piano, forte, whatever it is. If you have different forms, so if you have binary over here and ternary over here, or really whatever else you're thinking, you label the different areas, you ask a question, and students move to the corner that they believe is correct. And maybe while you're doing this, you're also having some music on in the background that they're also then demonstrating with their bodies what they're hearing. So again, you can be assessing them on rhythm identification, form, instrument families, dynamics, tempo, whatever it is. And the beauty of this strategy is you can instantly see your class's understanding and your students stay actively engaged. Now, does this one also come with maybe some higher expectations for your students, making sure that this doesn't descend into that void of chaos? 100%. But is it a fun, engaging, and effective way to gather some data? 100%. Example number three, freeze and show. This one works beautifully with your younger students because because students move while music plays, and then when the music stops, you ask the question, show me, and then whatever it is you're doing. Your students get to have their wiggles out, and again, maybe you're instructing them to dance in a certain type of way. So maybe for younger students, it's something simple like, can you dance like an elephant? Can you dance like a bunny? Those two things that they have to dance differently if they're going to dance like an elephant versus like a bunny. And again, maybe you're picking songs that, well, that makes sense for the elephant and the bunny. But then when they freeze, maybe you're asking them something that has to do directly with the music, or just something not necessarily random, but that's going on with whatever you're trying to teach. So even if you're trying to teach solfege patterns, you say, okay, when the music stops, I want you to have the hand sign for sol pause. And that freeze movement gives you a quick snapshot of what their understanding is. Students get to play a freeze dance game. You get to gather data. There's nothing better. Example number 4, partner demonstrations. Sometimes assessments don't actually need to even be individual. Students can teach a partner, perform for a partner, demonstrate for a partner. And what's great about this is the students are so focused on talking with their partner that you can just walk around, listen in, observe, and assess how they're doing. Again, it's really simple, but it gives you a tremendous amount of information in a very short amount of time. One reason movement assessments work so well is because they reduce the waiting. If you think about traditional assessments, one student answers while 20 students wait, or even just the amount of time that it takes to pass out materials, remind students to put their names on it, however much time the worksheet takes, which is 5 seconds for some of them and 5 minutes for another. It takes time. And a lot of that means that some students are going to be waiting and possibly causing issues through that waiting. Movement assessments flip that. Now every student is getting a chance to respond in a way that now doesn't even feel like they're being put on the spot. Every student participates. Every student then gives you information, but so much of it just makes them feel like they're playing. And that is really incredibly powerful. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you should never use worksheets, written assessments, and exit tickets. These tools have value and give you a lot of concrete data that we need to show why we're assessing our students how we are. But what I am saying is that movement-based assessments give us another option, especially when we want to see what our students can do. So when planning my assessments, I often ask, can students show me instead of just telling me? And if the answer is yes, then movement might be a great assessment tool because participation gives us information, and information is really what an assessment is all about. So today we talked about why assessment doesn't have to happen at the end of the class, why participation can then become evidence of learning, our 4 corners game, our freeze and show games, our movement responses, our participation demonstration, and most importantly, that assessments can be active, assessments can be engaging, and assessments can happen throughout the lesson. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Make Movement Matter this summer series. I hope today's video helped you see assessments in a new way as you're planning for the upcoming school year. Now, next week, we're going to talk about something that completely changed the energy of my classroom, the difference between calming movement and high energy movement, and knowing when to use each. So if you found today's video helpful, let me know in the comments, what is your favorite way to assess understanding in the music class? And until next time, happy playing.